Wingman Joker, thank you for listening to this channel and please support the channel. Please subscribe. Chapter 121. Who is she? Charlotte was sitting on her leather chair as she watched some men with naked chests move chests inside a vault. Young mistress, the Von Weiss family has eradicated the Lotus Gang, an old butler said. My stupid little brother would have never thought that I would use our enemies to erase the traitors he bought up. She said with a smirk. Shall we send someone else to assassinate Victor? He asked. No need. That guy might be a pervert, but he is a well-protected one. And I don't want to get in trouble with his family yet. She said. Send him an invitation to the auction, but make sure that he arrives late. I want to humiliate him a little, she said with a look of hatred in her eyes. Understood, the old man said as he bowed deeply. Any news about Baron? She asked as she watched the guards bring in 3 girls in chains. Those are what's left of her goods. Damn you, Titus, you idiot. No, we don't even know if he was alive. The old man said. That guy will not die this easily. Just keep searching for him, he will pop up sooner or later, he always does. She said, at the very least we need to retrieve the bloodline checking book. She added. Ellipsis. After kicking the clingy Margaret and Alex out of the study and then locking the door, Victor smiled as he looked at the pouting Lily. These things are really great, you know, sit down and wait for your turn. He said with a smile as he set the blood book on the desk, then pricked his finger and marked the cover with his essence blood. The book shone a little, indicating that it has recognized a new master. Now using this is very easy, he just had to drop his blood in the groove on the cover. The book reacted and began to turn its pages until it reached an already existing silvery purple page. It was mostly empty, just 2 lines. Blood ID 12,548 octillion 4 septillion 125 sextillion 121 quintillion 153 quadrillion 543 trillion 215 billion 465,776,771. Rank. AAA. And the word Von Weiss was written in elegant handwriting in the corner. Probably Baron's doing. Authority condition met, infinity greater than 15,541. Do you want to reveal blood encoded data? Yes, no. He pressed yes, and the page changed in front of his eyes. Blood ID 12,548 octillion 4 septillion 125 sextillion 121 quintillion 153 quadrillion 543 trillion 215 billion 465,776,771. Rank. AAA. Data status. Complete. Originator species. Elder Dragon. Special blood effects. Immortality. Draconic aura. Enhanced healing. Enhanced libido. Enhanced strength. Enhanced magic power. Enhanced charm. Enhanced luck. Enhanced poison resistance. Enhanced fire resistance. Bloodline skills. DRAGONIFICATION. SS. Regeneration. SS. Dragon breath. S. Dragon claw. S. Limitless flight. S. Limitless dive. S. Hiding. S. Devouring. A. Draconic howl. A. Camouflage. A. Charm. B. Weakness. Netherstone. Restrains powers. Sunstone. Reveal in hiding. Wah, he never knew his bloodline was this overpowered. What would happen if he succeeded in upgrading it? What would it turn into? He knew a few things about this. The blood features just rely on purity, while the skills would be granted on awakening and they are limited by the purity too. The purer the better. Usually, not all skills are granted, 1 or 2 mostly. That's unless he was 100% pure and fully awakened. What is this young master? Lily, who sat quietly beside him, asked. This artifact reveals the secrets of the bloodline. Those should be the Von Weiss blood. He said. Can you read those symbols? Lily asked with astonishment, making him realize that the book was written in rune writing. This type of thing was still unreadable, and only a few symbols could be recognized by trial and error, as the AAA rank. That's how Baron used it. Yes, I can read this. It just needs some effort to learn. He said with a smile that made Lily's eyes sparkle. The young master is really amazing. She thought, not realizing how amazing reading runes truly was. In his past life, Victor was one of the few who truly read this thing. No, put a drop of your blood in this groove, he said as he handed Lily a sterilized needle. He didn't want the cut to leave a scar. She nodded and did as he told her. Just as the blood entered the groove, the book shone, then flipped open to an empty space, and out of thin air, a golden page with raven ornaments began to materialize. No record of her bloodline was registered in the book before this. Blood ID 14,074 octillion 844 septillion 161 sextillion 264 quintillion 796 quadrillion 3,984,542,155. Rank: SS. Authority condition met infinity greater than 240137. Do you want to reveal blood-encoded data? Yes, no. Wow, much more authority was needed for hers. Is it because of the SS rank? He quickly pressed yes. Blood ID 14,074 octillion 844 septillion 161 sextillion 264 quintillion 796 quadrillion 3,984,542,155. Rank: SS. Data status: complete. Originator species: crowned crow. Special blood effects: immortality, enhanced healing, enhanced strength, enhanced magic power, enhanced agility, enhanced intelligence, enhanced fire resistance, enhanced cold resistance, super enhanced memory, super enhanced charm, bloodline skills, misfortune bringer X, shadowkin SSS, soul suck, SSS, crowclaw, SS, death shrill, SS, limitless flight, S, charm, S, hiding, S, survival instinct S, devouring, A, memory song, A, camouflage, A, regeneration B, mocking C, weakness, sunstone, reveal in hiding, elven metal, disables powers. Fought. Victor stood up and yelled, making Lily shrink a little bit as he looked at her as if he wanted to eat her. Is everything okay, young master? She asked timidly with a blush. The way he looked at her made her feel strange. Dear Lily, come sit on my lap, he said as he sat down and patted his lap. Lily nodded timidly and sat down, to feel his arms hug her. I thought that my bloodline was overpowered, but after looking at yours, I found out that I am pathetic, he said, making her a little shocked. Was it really like that? She thought as she looked at the incomprehensible runes in the book. But, I have some good, and bad news for you, he said with a complex expression. What? She asked nervously. The bad news is that we may have to split up, he said with a sigh while feeling a little guilty for having to manipulate Lily's feelings. What? She yelled as tears began to fill her eyes. Does the young master not need me anymore, or does it have something to do with my bloodline? Is it better than yours? Can't you just take it? I don't mind, she said in shock. Idiot, that's not it, he said as he hugged her harder. It has something to do with the good news. Your bloodline let me confirm who your parents are, he said, deciding to tell her the truth about her origin. The truth would come out sooner or later, and it would be better if he was the one who would deliver the news. My parents? She asked in shock. But I remember them, they were farmers. They sold me to a brothel when I was 5. And no matter how much I pleaded, they didn't listen, she said with a sad voice. If my guess was correct, those guys were not your real parents, he said as he grabbed the book of wished knowledge and opened it to a page showing a pretty naked woman in a dirty pose. Lily wanted to look away in embarrassment but stopped when she realized that the woman looked about 99% similar to her, if it weren't for the slightly slanted eyes and the beauty mark on her cheek. Victor also inspected the picture. This woman had a mature charm that the young Lily could never rival. Not yet anyway. Who is she, and why is she in this dirty pose? Lily asked in shock as her face was painted red with a blush. She wouldn't mind making this pose for her young master, but she wouldn't like it if it was featured in a porn book. This book is an artifact that was set to show the most pretty women in the world about 120 years ago. Victor said he discovered the age by trying to ask the same question about the women, and the book told him that it would cost him 120,000 order points and 10 years cold down time, or 120 order points and 120 years cold down time. And since the book was usable now, that much time has probably elapsed. Ah, who is she? Lily asked. Look at the name at the bottom, he said. Lily looked to see 3 words written in ethereal handwritten runes that she couldn't read. What does it say? She asked with embarrassment while wishing to pinch the young master for teasing her. Venus von Krona, probably your grandmother, he said, making Lily frown. She had never heard of that name before. She inspected the picture again but quickly looked away. The pose was very dirty. But, maybe I just look like them, she said. Not with your crowned crow bloodline. It's unique to them, he said. The von Krona was the strongest family in the world. They went into hiding about 21 years ago, Victor added, making Lily gasp. But, But, what does it matter? She asked. If you belong to that family, that would be a problem. As they would never approve of a son-in-law like me. Not easily anyway, as my bloodline rank is too low for them. He said with a shallow smile that made Lily shocked as she realized why he told her that they may not be able to stay together. I will just hide. They don't know about me. She said timidly. She was curious about her real family, but she didn't want to leave her young master. No, they don't, but they will. You must know better than me how big family spy networks work. He said. I know, but they didn't look for me until now. She said in a depressed voice. I have information that the Von Krona had some kind of an internal power struggle that would end very soon. Maybe your situation was related to it. He said, we don't know if they will look for you for sure, but you have to be ready just in case. He lied. He clearly met her brother when he came to the archipelago to look for her trace back then. At that time Victor hid the fact that he was a Von Weiss, just posing as a history researcher, and together with that guy he found out through the records what happened to Lily. He could not have imagined that the random girl who was killed at the day of his ceremony would have been such an important character. And he would have never believed that he would fall in love with her. His initial purpose when he saved her was to send her to her family. Her brother was his best friend after all, and that guy did confess to Victor that he wished they were brothers-in-law when they got drunk once. No matter what, I want to stay with the young master. She said stubbornly with a blush, bringing him to the present. I want that too. But you would have to face your parents sooner or later. So we have to get married before they find you. He said as he hugged her tighter. I would have to face my in-laws after all. He said, sniffing her hair, making her smile a little. He really had several solutions. The best one was to upgrade his bloodline. If he has an S-ranked bloodline, things would be much easier. Did the young master know about that before and made me wear a veil for that purpose? She asked him after sitting on his lap and feeling his warm hug for a while. Making him freeze. Shit, this girl was too smart for her own good. Of course not, I just didn't want anyone else to look at your beauty with dirty eyes. He lied. Lily nodded in embarrassment. Don't worry, I just need to get rid of Linda, and we will marry. He said, the Von Krona would take another 3 years to sort out their trouble, then it would take her brother another 3 years to track her. Here, that's if nothing was changed. Chapter 122, Bloodlines Test. After calming Lily down, Victor told her to go get the girls. He needed to test their bloodlines. Watching her leave the study, he sighed, wondering what would be her reaction when she hears his plan for her family. Well, that would be for the future. Now he had to get rid of Linda. His plan for her was already underway, and that idiot was acting just as he expected. It was a good thing that she lives in Vane City, where the Von Weiss family controls everything. Soon, Lily returned with the girls. Young master, do you need anything? Beta asked as Lily didn't explain why the young master requested them. Come on, one by one drop your blood onto this book, Victor said. We already did that when Master Bar Pig took us to the mansion. Beta said. Yeah, I know, now do it again. Victor gestured to her. Beta nodded and then did as he said. The book quickly flipped to a page with an ID 154 on its header. This was Baron's handwriting. Blood ID 41 nonillion 544 octillion 321 septillion 126 sextillion 616 quintillion 123 quadrillion 421 trillion 343 billion 214 million 321,430. Rank B. Data status incomplete, unable to show more data, 35%. Her bloodline was not pure, it seems, so the data was not complete. It seemed that to complete the data of a bloodline he would need to get samples from more people. But this was enough for him to know its originator. He quietly wrote it in his notebook. After that the girls, one by one, tested their blood types as Victor wrote some notes down. He especially licked his lips when Theta tested her blood. All done, good job, he said, with a chuckle as he looked at the data. Making the girls pout a little because he told them nothing. They didn't dare complain though. Good, Lily, go get your sisters, Victor said, as he gestured to Margaret and Alex, who was now wearing a maid dress, to enter the room. Beta and her sisters gave Alex a strange look, especially Gamma, who was a little interested in Alex before. She never thought he had such hobbies. Really, all men are perverts. Alex, Margaret, and the twins were tested after that. They didn't have any bloodlines. But the book's reaction to Alex's case was strange. It was as if it was having a hard time deciding, which made Victor think of a possibility as he began to look at her. Maybe her bloodline was locked, like the curse that locked her experience before. Is everything okay, young master? Alex asked with a blush as she felt her eyes crawl all over her body. She wasn't used to wearing a dress. Just sit here, he said, pointing to a couch nearby as he hurried the other girls to go out. Margaret giggled, making Gamma ask her what was going on. Oh, Alex has discovered that he was not comfortable being a man, and the young master decided to help him find his direction in life. She said, making the girls blush. I am a girl. Alex wanted to shout while wishing to strangle that slut, Margaret. Can't you find a better way to explain things? After Margaret winked, then closed the door, Victor looked at Alex and asked. You already told me that you had no idea who your mother was, right? Victor asked, making Alex frown a little. She nodded. She had already told him about her family when she met him. Do you have any mementos from her? Victor asked. Alex hesitated for a moment. Yes, not with me. There was a pendant that my father always wore. He told me that it was from my mother. But that traitor took it when he imprisoned me. Alex said with hatred, forgetting her embarrassment. Your fiancé? Victor asked. Yes, no, my best friend. Don't forget that I am a male, young master. Alex said with sweat dripping from her forehead. She almost revealed herself. Oh, that would be a big problem then. Victor said with a sigh. Why, is everything okay, young master? Alex asked. Your bloodline is strange. It is as if there was something hiding or locking it. Even this book, an S-ranked artifact, couldn't detect it. It may have something to do with your mother. Victor said, making Alex surprised. We have to get that pendant. I believe it holds a secret. Victor added. Shall we go to the Thunder Sect? I don't know if that guy survived, Alex asked with determination. Yes, maybe it is there on his corpse, perhaps he survived, maybe someone took it during the battle. There are too many variables. We will have to go there to investigate the place anyway. But not now, Victor said while pondering. Next month I will have to go on a dungeon raid with my father near New Lure City. That place is close to the Thunder Sect, so we would head there on our way back. I already promised you that I will help you get revenge. And although someone beat us to the Thunder Sect, I still have to help you retrieve your things and regain your honor. Victor said, acting as if he really cared about her, while in truth he only wanted to know what happened to the Thunder Sect's vault. If it was still hidden, he wouldn't mind ransacking it. As for the pendant, if it really mattered, it would find its way to Alex sooner or later. That's how science and fate worked. Alex nodded with gratefulness in her eyes. The young master really cares for her. Just then Lily returned with her assassin girls, who quickly saluted Victor respectfully while giving Alex a strange look. Is this guy a male or a female? Wasn't he dressed in a butler uniform earlier? If it were not for his short hair, they would have truly mistaken him for a girl. Is he a pervert, or is this just a hobby? Come on, everyone, drop your blood on this book's cover, Victor said with a smile as if he understood the girls' dirty thoughts. The girls nodded and then began to test their blood one by one. Sadly, they were all except one, normal humans. Well, finding someone with a bloodline was never easy. Anyway, he will keep this book with him in case he meets an interesting girl, or boy. He quickly kicked the girls back to their room to get some sleep, then sat down, and relaxed as Lily stood behind him massaging his shoulders. Any good results? She asked curiously, making Victor hand her the notebook. Beta, Silver Blood Wolf Bloodline, B rank, 35% Gamma, Golden Duck Bloodline, C rank, 41% Delta, Diamond Dog Bloodline, D rank, 54% Epsilon, Bronze Dog Bloodline, D rank, 61%, Zeta, Three-Tailed Fox Bloodline, D rank, 70% Eta, Sleepy Porcupine Bloodline, F rank, 61% Theta, Twin-Tailed Lucky Cat Bloodline, S rank, 12% Assassin Girl 3 Nora, Horned Bat Bloodline, E rank, 10%. Victor sighed. The girls didn't have pure blood, but that's to be expected as most likely they were just some random common girls who had really bad luck, except Theta. Was it her luck that brought her to him? He really wanted to know her skills, but her blood purity was too low for the book to analyze. Lily, I want you to check the data we got from Baron, see if there's anything about the girl's origin, he said. Lily nodded as she watched her young master close his eyes and enjoy her delicate hands. She didn't know, but he was checking on Alpha's situation. She was still training the brothel girls. She was going to use them to create a spy network using some of the resources that were hidden by her family. That girl was a pure sadist. She could act as an evil mistress very easily. He remembers how savage she was when he first met her. But now, dominating her felt quite good. Anyway, he needed her to return fast. As she had the Oris jewel which he needed to create a protection and hiding formation around the mansion. He wants to awaken all the girls. If he was discovered by the family or the other powers, it would raise too many questions, as he can't just say it was a coincidence, like the dungeon incident. And he might need to leave the mansion in the future, and he didn't want them to be helpless. That reminded him that he never got the formation materials he asked the alchemist about. Victor quickly searched his storage ring and took out the card that the old man gave him. It has a store address. He should go there tomorrow before heading out to search for the 41 Death Warriors Nick hid. What are you thinking about, young master? Lily asked him with a frown after she saw the lewd smile on his face. She didn't like it at all. Tomorrow you will accompany me to get about 40 new girls, he said lazily, making Lily, just for a moment, consider if it was okay to strangle this pervert young master's neck. Ellipsis. Martin von Sway looked coldly at his son's body as the candlelight illuminated the dog shit covering it. It leaked out of the casket onto the expensive wool carpet that covered the grand hall. The elders around him chose to remain silent, observing, and wondering. It seemed fresh. How many dogs do you need to create such a masterpiece? Patriarch, let me go and kill that bastard Cassius. How dare he do this to young Master Carlos? An elder from the Patriarch's faction yelled with anger, as the other elders around him also clamored for revenge. No, Martin said, making the hall go silent again as he pondered for a second. What do you think, Levi? He asked his second son without showing any expression. This is a trap. The enemy must have been doubting Cassius. They want to expose the force behind him. Even Carlos's death might not be a coincidence. We must not react rashly, Levi said, making the elders nod in approval. Amazing, young master, we have not thought of that, many elders said, trying hard to kiss his ass. Silence, Martin commanded in a chilling voice, making them quickly hold their tongues. They didn't want to lose them. The question is it one of us? He asked, looking at the nervous elders, someone from the other family. He added, looking at his son, or the Von Weiss. He concluded with hatred leaking through his cold facade. I may add that it may be some unknown faction in the Von Weiss family, Levi added, making his father give him an approving look. What do you propose? He asked majestically. Rita should have finished her ceremony, so I think it is a good time for her to join us, just for a few days before attending the academy. I might need to take her on a tour to the graveyard lab, he said, making the elders in the hall shiver. She is your fiancée, do you really want to put her through that? Martin asked coldly. We must, Levi said, she is a pawn anyway. And her death would serve a purpose at least, he added. Master, that would expose Cassius, an elder said to Martin. It's okay, that faction is disposable, as Cassius was probably exposed. And we still have the Von Rosen, we just need to tell them to hasten their infiltration. Killing Anne would make a perfect opportunity because all the competing factions would need to strengthen themselves fast, and marriage with another family is a sure way. Levi explained. Master, but Anne is already poisoned, no need to make Rita kill her. Another elder who was of an opposing faction interjected. She was cured, we still don't know who and how. Levi replied, making the elder frown. He didn't like the fact that he was not informed of this new information. Fine, make sure to do it perfectly. It's time to get rid of the Von Weiss anyway, as many worms are already eyeing them. If they were not annihilated after this, they would have to go into hiding for a long time to recover from the internal dispute that will ensue. Martin said as he coldly looked at Carlos's corpse. Understood, esteemed father, Levi answered. Chapter 123, Another Dog. Victor woke up at the ringing of his phone, and as usual, he was not in a mood to answer. He didn't even bother to open his eyes as he enjoyed the feeling of being hugged by more than one girl. He knew that someone would pick it up sooner or later. This is the phone of young Master Victor, Lily answered the phone after a few seconds. No, he is busy, her tone got less polite. Ah, when? Yes, I will tell him, I know. With that, she hung up the phone rudely. Good morning, young master, it is Kai, he wanted to tell you that you got invited to an auction tomorrow night. Lily said, oh, where and at what time? He asked lazily. About 9 p.m., they will send someone with the invitation later. It is in the White Hotel. She replied, 9.00, that B*TCH, Charlotte, wants me to arrive late it seems. He thought as he opened his eyes and looked at the girls hugging him. They were Mina and Mana who have sneaked into his bed in the middle of the night. They seemed to have been awake all this time. "Good morning, young master," they said at the same time. "Good morning. Don't you two have duties to attend to?" he asked them as he yawned. It was already 10 a.m. "Those girls are getting lazy. We didn't want to wake you." And hugging the young master was very comfortable, so he didn't want to let go. Mana said cheekily with a blush, "She has been learning from Margaret, it seems." "Oh, where is that slut? Where is Margaret?" he asked. "That pervert should have been with them." "Ah, do you miss her, young master?" Mina asked, trying to tease her young master but failing miserably. "Maybe, she has a nice texture," he said, making the girls feel a little jealous. What does he mean by texture? They wondered. "She said that she will sleep with her new toy," Mana answered after some hesitation. She was worried that the young master would get angry about Margaret sleeping with Alex. "Oh, if it is Alex then it's okay. He is the one we should be worried about. You can try sleeping with him too if you want," Victor said, making the girls open their mouth wide. Is the young master really this open? Absolutely not. He kicked a man's ass just for hitting on Lily. They felt very strange, especially Lily. However, it could be argued that Alex didn't act like a man at all. He was a wimp. Could it be that Alex was castrated and only Margaret and the young master knew about this? "Now go wash up then prepare some breakfast for me," Victor said, making the twins return to reality and reluctantly get up. Last night, Lily let them hug the young master with her. And without that annoying Margaret, they enjoyed a blissful night. They didn't know why, but being near their young master made them feel a strange sense of security. Ellipsis. The twins quickly returned to their room and took a shower, then headed to the kitchen after getting dressed in their maids' uniforms. Margaret and Alex, who was still in a maid uniform, were already there helping Hilda, who seemed to have already prepared most of the dishes, so the twins only had to make the final touches. "How was your night?" Hilda asked them while raising her eyebrow. She didn't expect them to jump to the young master's bed this willingly. "But it's not bad. It was good," Mina said with a blush before turning to Margaret and asking to change the subject. "How was your night, Margaret?" she asked curiously. What did they do all night? That Alex was a little pale. Was he really a full man, or was he missing something? She didn't dare to ask. "It was fine, we just played a little game," Margaret chuckled, making Alex shiver. She should have never tied Margaret up that night. This girl seeks revenge for the slightest grievances. Thankfully it didn't involve anything sexually, or her secret would have been revealed. Alex swore that she should never let Margaret know her true gender. Just thinking about what would happen sent shivers down her spine. "Oh," Mana nodded with a blushed face, imagining some wild scenarios. "Let's get things ready," Hilda said after a chuckle. She never thought that this much drama would happen in this mansion. Young Master Victor was really great. She could tell from the smiles of the girls. She has served under other masters in the family, and most of them are pieces of shit. They would never give their servants this much freedom and they would punish them for every little thing. Ellipsis. After having his breakfast hand-fed to him by Lily, Victor asked about the other girls in the mansion and Hilda told him that they had already eaten early in the morning. Beta and her sisters were studying, while the assassin girls were doing their morning training. "I have some business outside, do you want to come with me, or would you prefer to go shopping with your sisters?" Victor asked Lily. "I will go with you," Lily said naturally as she wiped his mouth with a napkin. "Will you give me a ride? I want to go to my apartment and get my clothes," Arya, who just went downstairs, asked. "That's fine," Victor replied. He totally forgot that she was living with him now. "What about me?" Margaret asked. "You stay here with Alex, he should stay low for a while. And you have to teach him how to flirt with men," Victor said, making Alex bite her lip. "This is for your own good," Victor told her after noticing her sour expression. The strange thing about Alex is that even if she was wearing the maid uniform, she would still give the air of a boy. It was the gender-changing artifacts effect. Only Victor, who was not affected due to his high authority, could enjoy the sight of Alex's camouflaged curvy figure. "Hilda, call Theta for me, I want her to accompany us," Victor ordered before he stood up and headed out to check on his car. He didn't have a chance to really inspect it since he bought it. This time he can't take Leo as he might need to drive while following the ring's signal. Finding Nick's hideout would require some luck. Ellipsis. After an hour, Victor drove out of the mansion with Lily, Arya, and the jubilant Theta. This was her first time going out like this, and despite Alpha's repeated warnings, she really liked the young master. First, They headed to the store where Victor intended to buy the materials for the formation. It was an antique store built inside a warehouse in an inconspicuous industrial zone, as if the owner intended to be low-key. There was not much traffic, just some lorries or trucks passing by. "All of you stay here," he told the girls as he got down. He didn't want to attract unnecessary trouble because of the girl's beauty. "Young master, can I come?" the curious Theta asked, making Victor, who wanted to refuse her, freeze. His instinct told him that he should never refuse this girl's requests. "Okay," he said, as he stretched his hand, making her hold it with a slight blush. When she was at Titus's mansion, she was never treated this kindly by the men there. And the young master's hand is so soft. Arya could only utter pervert in a low voice, while Lily looked at them with some jealousy. But she had seen the bloodline notes Victor took yesterday, and she had an idea why Victor would take Theta with him. "Don't let go of my hand," Victor said to Theta, who nodded in response. Entering the store, Victor looked around and quickly found that this store specialized in antiques, fake antiques to be specific. It was filled with all kinds of things. "Don't touch anything, if you break it you will pay for it." A bossy sales girl who was dusting the antiques barked at him. "Do you need anything?" she asked after that. Camellia, abnormal status, slave weak, STR 14, int 22, luck 11, charm 24, fate, E, bloodline. Victor quickly appraised her and discovered that this girl was just a servant, her master probably belonged to some hidden power. "Where is your master? This young master wants to meet him," Victor asked arrogantly, making the girl squint her eyes. "You mean the boss? He only meets important people," she said proudly. "Tell him the old alchemist sent me. Go, this young master has no time to waste," he said, giving her the card he got from the shopkeeper. The girl frowned a little as she took the card and then headed to the back of the store. "Wait a second, and touch nothing," she rudely said. "Many people come here to meet her master, and he usually just kicks them out." As they waited, Theta began to look around the store, looking at all the paintings and vases. "Do you like anything?" he asked her, just in case. I don't know," she said as she shook her head, making her ponytail swing. "I think that painting is pretty," she said, pointing to an obvious knockoff, palm-sized painting of a penguin smoking a pipe. Victor said nothing, he just approached it and began to inspect it. His appraisal skill showed nothing, and his impression was that this thing was not even a real painting. It was made using some printer, then plastered with some opaque watercolors over the ink to appear authentic for some idiot to buy it. The one who did this didn't even bother to use some inexpensive oil paints. This young master has a keen eye. This painting was the last product of an aspiring artist, someone said from behind him. It was an old man with a snow-white pointy beard and thick eyebrows. He came from the back of the shop and was followed by that bossy salesgirl. Name: Huang Shan. Level: 99. Class: Merchant. Abnormal status: CURSED/SS. Authority: 9. Strength: 245. Agility: 229. Intelligence: 261. Luck: 53. Charm: 57. Order: 80. Skills: Killer Fist S. Appraisal A. Formation Arts A. Haggling A. Money Grubber A. Suspicion A. Speech A. Charm B. Scheming B. Cooking B. Brewing B. Survivor C. Knife Arts D. Surveying D. Shield D. Chess E. Sword Arts F. Cleaning F. System Store Access Level 7. Player Market Access Level 2. Equipment: Defensive Talisman S. Charm Enhancing Ring B. Aura Hiding Pendant B. Storage Ring D. Ring of the Master F. Fate Status: Fate's Power C. Fate's Direction Neutral. Fate's Design Unspecified. Total C. Another hidden master. Those guys are popping out everywhere recently. No wonder that after the reckoning the world changed so fast. Those guys were waiting for their chance. "Are you the boss here?" Victor asked arrogantly. "Yes, did Neil send you?" the man asked as he looked at the card in his hand. "If you mean that grumpy alchemist, then yes. He didn't have the materials I needed, so he sent me here. He even told me that you would give me a discount," Victor said, making the girl behind a smirk. The boss had never given anyone discounts before. This idiot young master would be lucky if he didn't lose his pants on his way out. "Oh, what do you need?" the old man said, not caring for Victor's rude language. He just looked at Theta, then returned his vision to Victor. "The girl is normal, but this guy is strange. Why can't I see anything?" He must be from a powerful family that gave him some protection artifacts. But is he a big fish or just another shrimp? The man wondered without making it show on his face. These materials, Victor said as he gave the man the list. Huang Shan quickly took a look at it with a frown. I have those materials, payment is in coins. The man said seriously. This is a good business deal. How much? Asked Victor. 3 million coins. The man said while flashing 3 of his fingers in Victor's face. He was not sure if Victor would run when he heard that number. Many people underestimate the cost of those materials. Too much, Victor said while wanting to smack this guy's face. He was charging him more than double the normal price. Too bad he didn't want anyone to know he got those, otherwise he would have just bought them from the family. But that would expose too many things. Too much. Not at all. This mirage stone is not easily found, you know. And I am already giving you a discount because Neil sent you. Huang replied dismissively, making Victor frown for a second before looking at Huang again. I can accept, but I need 2 things from your shop with it. Victor said, making Huang surprised. This is a big fish. He will get an 83% profit margin from those. What? Huang asked. He really wants this deal to work now. First, this painting, Victor said while observing the penguin painting, making Huang look at it with interest too. Does this thing have any real value? Both of them wondered, but Huang, who got curious, would never let go of this painting now. That can't be. This painting is too precious. My late mother used to love it, so it is not for sale. Huang said, making Camellia behind him curse at him. Didn't he punish her a few days ago for failing to get rid of it? And what late mother? Didn't you scam this thing a month ago out of the hands of that lousy wandering painter? Victor frowned, then looked at Theta, who only shook her head. It's okay, I don't like it much anyway, it was just interesting. She said in a soft voice. She didn't want the young master to get in trouble because of her. It was enough that he wanted to buy her the painting. Fine, then I will take a random thing in addition to that girl, Victor said, pointing at Camellia, who opened her mouth in shock. Did this guy really want her? Does he want revenge? Would her master sell her just like that? Oh, she would be an extra 1,000 coins, Huang said immediately. He got this girl a few months ago and only for 100 coins. But if this pervert wanted her, he didn't mind giving her to him. He wanted to get a new one anyway. He can't keep someone by his side for too long. That's a lot. I can buy 10 beauties for that much money. Victor said while sneaking peeks at Camellia. Then how about I give you this painting with her? It is for the same artist who drew the penguin. The man said as he rummaged a little before taking another lousy painting of a cat with 2 tails. This thing was even uglier than the penguin, as the artist didn't even bother to use a brush. He must have done it with his finger. But despite that, it made Victor want to yell in shock. Isn't this Theta's bloodline originator, the 2-tailed lucky cat? He professionally hid his expression as he looked at the painting. What the F***ck was going on here? Are you perhaps scamming this young master? He asked the shopkeeper, hiding his true feelings. As Theta squeezed his hand, she really wanted this painting. Not at all, Huang replied professionally. Victor looked at Camellia and embarrassingly scratched his nose as if he was thinking while trying hard to hide his lips-licking tongue. This gesture wasn't hidden from Huang's expert eyes. Another pervert. Lately, he has been selling girls more than anything else. Well, it's all business. Victor gave the penguin painting one more reluctant look and then pointed to a random hair ornament. I agree, I will take that too then. He said. This would look good on Lily, he thought. Is it a deal then? Huang said, after giving the hairpin a dismissive glance. Nothing special, he had a dozen of those in the back. Yes, when can I get my materials? Victor said, regaining his arrogant appearance. Just a second, Huang quickly went to the back as Camellia looked nervously at Victor. She has been a little rude to him earlier, would he punish her? After a few minutes, Huang returned with a bag of materials. After that, he wrapped the cat picture and gave it to Victor with the hairpin. That would be 3,001,000 coins, Huang said. Victor quickly operated his system menu and paid him from Alpha's account. Then put the stuff in his ring. Good, does the young master need anything else? Huang said politely. A big fish must be treated respectfully before and after chopping it. The girl, Victor said, making Huang smack his head. Sorry, I forgot, he said as he operated the ring on his finger. I have nothing to do with her now. The man said he dispelled the ring's effect. All good, Victor said as he ordered Camellia not to resist and then marked her with his master ring, taking one of the last 2 remaining slots. Only one left. Huang looked with interest at the ring in Victor's hand but said nothing. This young master was definitely from a big family, and he must be occupying an important position. Hang thought. Victor ignored him and left the store followed by an aggrieved girl who kept looking back with tears in her eyes, not knowing how she ended up changing hands. Just as they left the store, Huang smacked his head again. Shit, I forgot to ask him for the price of the clothes Camellia was wearing. Never mind, I got enough milk out of him today. He complained. Ellipsis. Victor led Theta and the nervous Camellia back to the car, where Lily was leaning to the car as she stared at him and Camellia behind him. Next to the car, two burly men were squirming on the ground holding their crotches, suffering from the mysterious cracked nut syndrome. You drive, Victor told Arya as he returned to the car and sat in the back with Lily and Camellia. Name? Asked Victor, as Arya started the car. Camellia, young master, she said timidly, he must be really angry. Lily, you test her, Victor said, giving Lily, who was sitting next to Camellia, the blood book from his ring, making her squint her eyes. Another bloodline holder. The young master can really pick out those. Prick your finger and drop your blood here, Lily ordered coldly. Camellia quickly complied, making a new page appear in the book. Hell Guardian Dog. A rank. Data incomplete 91%. Another dog. Well, this one is interesting. She did have the personality of a cocky guard. And was barking when she saw strangers. But this is good. That idiot Huang would have never thought that he lost big. An A-rank bloodline holder costs at least 5 million coins. Tell me about yourself, Victor ordered as he watched the road. Arya was driving to her apartment. Wait, is he forgetting something here? Yes, he didn't test Arya's bloodline. That purple hair can't be natural. I am nothing special. I come from a village near Vane City. My family was poor, so they sold me to a gang. I changed hands many times and was purchased by Master Huang 2 months ago. She said timidly. How old are you? Are you a virgin? Lily asked her. I am 22 years old, and no. Camellia shook her head, making Victor curse. He really wanted to upgrade this one's bloodline. What are you good at? He asked her. I can do cleaning, cooking, and accounting. I can also fight a little. She said nervously. Her previous masters tried to teach her how to sing and dance. But they failed miserably. Do you know anything about this painting? He asked again as he took out the cat painting from his ring and looked at it. It has only one signature on the back, a strange symbol that Victor didn't recognize. A wandering artist sold it to Master Huang about 5 weeks ago. With 2 other paintings of a penguin and a butterfly. She said, the butterfly painting was sold to a hot girl who drove a red sports car a week ago. She added, making Victor frown, then give the painting to Theta. With this girl's luck, this thing can't be a coincidence. This is yours, he said, explaining nothing. Just as Theta took the painting, just for a split second, Victor saw a white thread connect between the painting and her. As if this was fated. Theta, who noticed nothing strange, smiled as she took the painting and began to look at it. This was the first gift from the young master and she really liked it. Tell me if you felt anything strange about it, he told Theta as he decided to keep an eye on this girl. After that, he looked back at Camellia. From now on, she is yours, he told Lily, who was surprised. For me, young master? She asked. You need a maid or an assistant, as I want you to run my assassin's force. He said, making Lily, who got his point, nod. She really needed an assistant. It would make it easier to stay at her young master's side. Chapter 124, Flirting. The car soon reached a luxurious apartment complex. This place was managed by the company to house their actors and VIPs. Arya lived here after Carla kicked her out of her villa. It made sense now why Arya was treated badly by her mother for all these years. She was not her real daughter after all. Victor told Lily to stay with her new dog and Theta in the car as he left with Arya. You should go do your job. Arranging my belongings would take a while, and I will take a company moving truck to go back, Arya told him. I know that. I am here for other purposes, he said as a young guard quickly opened the door when he saw Arya. Good morning, Miss Arya. How was your trip? He said respectfully with a smile. Victor told Susan to tell the employees that Arya was on a business trip. Good morning, Jerry. It was good, Arya said after some hesitation, ignoring the flirting smile on his face. What are you doing here blocking the road? Victor, who was in the back, pushed the guard, Jerry, away. How dare he try to flirt with Arya? What are you doing? Let the man do his job, Arya told him, failing to realize that he was courting her. This girl was too thick for common approaches. If he really wanted her, he should go forward and get rejected like a real man. You are? The young man asked him with vigilance. This is the CEO of the company, you better not anger him or he would get you fired, Arya warned after she felt the hostility between them. Why would Victor pick a fight with this poor guard? She didn't understand this fake young brother of her at all. Ah, sorry, sir. The young man said as he bowed deeply and cursed in silence. Damn, Miss Arya has probably fallen for this rich young man. No, I must expose his true colors to her. Those guys are always traitors, the guard made his resolve for the new year. It's okay, just know your place, Victor said arrogantly, making Jerry hate him more. Arya nodded and headed to the elevator that had just reached the ground floor. And when the door opened, two women stepped out. Ah, young master, you are here. Mira, who saw Victor, exclaimed. The women were Mira and her agent. Mira, I missed you the last couple of days. Come here and give me a kiss. Victor commanded, making the agent frown and then open her mouth in shock with the guard who was getting ready to save Miss Mira from this pervert. Mira, who was supposed to be a shy innocent woman, went to Victor directly and after some hesitation quickly pecked him on his cheek. HSSSSSSs. Everyone was shocked, except Arya just shook her head and entered the elevator. Nothing strange about this. Theodore has already slept with half of the company's actresses, so it was natural that Victor takes the rest. Pervert. A family of perverts. They didn't know that after Mira was claimed by Victor at the party, she called her father, who worked at the family's intelligence hall, and informed him of what had happened. He only told her one thing. That no matter what, she should do as Victor commands. He proceeded to tell her that Victor was granted an elite position in the family and that he could punish or kill them both with just a word. Making her really scared, but her father assured her that the rumors about Victor's were all lies and that this might be her chance. So when Victor commanded her to kiss him, she forced herself to obey. This is. The agent, a tall pretty woman with thick glasses, asked as she gave Victor a nasty look, how dare he do that to Mira? Did he brainwash her? Is he blackmailing her? I am Myra's owner, Victor said while slapping Myra's butt, making Mira blush harder and cover her face with her hands. Jerry clenches his fist hard in anger as he glanced at Arya, who only sighed as the elevator door closed. Why didn't Miss Arya react? And why would Miss Mira, who was as pure as water, fall into the hands of this arrogant young master? Are all women like that, dirty money worshippers? Was his life and dreams a lie? Owner, the agent asked. Her mind had flown to a faraway place, she could not imagine what the word meant. Was this some kind of a perverted play? Should she call the police? I am Victor White, perhaps you heard of my name. He said casually. Victor White, ah, the CEO. Nice to meet you, sir, I am Minerva, an agent at your company, the agent said as her expression changed and she began to shoot flirting gazes toward Victor. I wouldn't mind him being my owner too. She thought. Jerry, who was watching her expression, lost his soul at this moment. The agent made him confirm his guess. Why are you here? Mira asked him. Did he want her for something? I was driving Arya here to get her stuff, she is moving in with me. And I thought about you. He said, making her frown. Wasn't Miss Arya his sister? Her father did warn her that the family was full of perverts. I will tell you about it later. Victor, who read her mind, said, you will have to move in too when your current movie ends. He said, making her nod with a sigh. She didn't know what to think. Was the young master really good to her or another pervert? Now, do you have something private? I need to ask you something. He said, making Mira blush. Would he do that to her? Young master, you can use the reception room. Minerva, who adjusted both her glasses and her view on Victor, said with a knowing smile. If Mira could satisfy this young master, he would surely grant her good roles in the company, and as her agent, she would gain a lot. Victor nodded as under the guard's desperate gaze, he took Myra's delicate hand and dragged her into the reception room, and closed the doors. He didn't like this agent, but such opportunistic women are of great use for perverted young masters like him. Like now, how that woman followed after him and stood outside the door as a guard. The reception room was made with the highest standards to receive VIPs and important media representatives if needed. It was furnished with brown leather couches and delicate wooden coffee tables. Victor sat on a wide couch and invited the blushing Mira to sit beside him. She was nervous. What did he want to ask? Doesn't he already know everything about her? How is work lately? Victor asked her. Ah, it's a little tiring, but thanks to the young master I got the role of the heroine in Mr. Silverberg's new movie. The project is complete on paper, it was only missing financing, so now the shooting will begin next month. She said politely. I see. That's good, he said as he took out the blood book from behind his back, not letting her see that he used the storage ring. Prick your finger and let one drop of your blood drip on its cover, he said, making her frown a little. Mira hesitated, not understanding what was his purpose. So Victor had to take her hand himself and use a sharp needle to prick it, then bring it to touch the cover. She didn't dare to resist. Nothing happened, or that's what Mira saw. Victor saw a whole different scene as a silver page appeared in the book. Blood ID 51,954,881,7,154,6,579,432,134,343,324,490. Rank: Ah. Data status: complete. Originator species: lower aqua spirit. Female only bloodline. Special blood effects: all or nothing. Enhanced magic power. Enhanced intelligence. Enhanced fire resistance. Enhanced cold resistance. Enhanced poison resistance. Enhanced shock resistance. Enhanced memory. Super enhanced charm. Super enhanced self-healing. Bloodline skills: healing kiss S. Healing touch A. Regeneration A. Diving A. Hiding A. Survival instinct A. Charm A. Enchanting song A. Mimic B. Reflect C. Blood curses: death when giving birth to a bloodline heir. Weakness: truth orb. Reveal true form. DEATHFREILL flowers, disables powers. Interesting, Victor said, as he looked at Mira. Who is your mother? He asked. She never told him in his past life. Ah, my late mother was also a servant. She served in the logistics hall. She replied. I never met her. My father said that she passed away while giving birth to me. She added. Seeing her skills, Victor realized why this girl had a full bloodline. It's her bloodline power and curse. It seems that only one can inherit it. Was it always like that? Probably not. This was a curse after all. Is everything okay, young master? She timidly asked when she saw the worried look on his face. Yes, I just confirmed that I really liked you, he said, making her both shy and confused. How did he confirm that? Do you have anything now? He asked her as he texted Kai to get him Myra's father and mother's files. Yes, I have a photo shoot at the company, she said. Oh, too bad I am busy today. I really wanted to watch, he said, making her nod with a blush. Well, I will call you in a few days. We can have a nice meal then, Victor added as he stood up, making Mira surprised. Is that all? She wondered. What, do you want me to do anything more? Victor, who could read her thoughts, asked, making her stand up and head to the door in shame, but she didn't expect Victor, who was still holding her hand, to pull her into his chest and kiss her lips. Ah, she was shocked. Never forget to give your young master a goodbye kiss, he said, as he left her hand and headed to the door. Take care of yourself. See you later, he said to the frozen girl as he left the room, under the surprised eyes of Minerva and Jerry, who were waiting outside. Done already? Minerva asked unconsciously. Yes, but she would need about a minute to pull herself together and go out, so don't disturb her, he said as he gave the guard a threatening look and left the building. Jerry, who misunderstood the whole situation as intended by Victor, cursed silently as he looked at the arrogant young master's back. One day I will trample on all of you and have all the pretty women for myself, he swore. Ellipsis. Oliver was sitting on his hospital bed, watching a show that made him forget his pains. A crazy woman entered the ward and started to hit that poor guy Abe. Apparently, she was his mother, and from her screaming, he made out the whole story. This shitty family has sold their cousin to some young master for a lot of money, and that piece of sh*t Abe took the money and ran to a brothel. And it just so happened that the place was raided. The money was gone. What a shitty family, they deserved what happened. Oliver. He heard a familiar voice call his name. Lulu. He asked in surprise, wasn't this his high school crush Lulu? In the end, he chose his betraying girlfriend over her. How blind was he? What are you doing here? She asked him as she twirled her flowing hair. I had an accident, he said with some embarrassment. I heard that Katya left you. She said. I am sorry, she added in a compassionate voice while smirking on the inside. He deserves this, just a poor bum who wants to jump out of a shit pool and marry a swan. It's okay, I am over it. He lied, trying to act like a gentleman. What are you doing here? He asked to change the subject. My brother had an accident, so I came to visit and spotted you. She said flirtingly. Lulu, stop flirting with that guy. You can't milk anything from him. He was castrated. Abe yelled at his sister, making her look at Abe with disgust before turning around and leaving him saying nothing. She was intending to make use of him to rape Margaret, then film it and blackmail her. But now this guy turned out to be useless. Oliver was surprised, then furious. Was she Abe's sister? Damn, a family of snakes. He didn't have to ask anything, he realized that this B*TCH was going to use him. He could read her eyes. Why? Because he is a player now. Normal human emotions were clear to him as daylight. His intelligence and strength have tripled after the awakening. Soon, he will get his revenge. On his girlfriend, on Lulu, and on that B*TCH that, The pain made him stop thinking. He took a deep breath and recollected his thoughts. He would have never thought where life would bring him after he left that mountain village. But life was really full of surprises. Who would have thought that his grandfather's relic he hanged on his neck for all these years was an awakening talisman? He has already searched the web for this player thing, and after a day's work, he found a website that he had to do an interview to enter. He passed it and entered the player's network to realize the hidden world he had never known about. There was a lot of information there and many encyclopedias. He even found hope for a cure. Soon, he thought, after being discharged he will be on his way to greatness. Chapter 125, Got the Chicks. Doctor, when can the operation be performed? Linda asked as she lowered her sleeve after the doctor finished taking a blood sample. How about tomorrow? The old perverted doctor asked. No, let's do it 3 days later. And this must be a secret, or I swear my father would kill you. She said, making the doctor nod. Don't worry, miss. This is not my first time doing this. But about the payment, he said as he licked his lips. Don't worry, I will pay you before the operation, but you better not mess this up. She said with a worried voice that perfectly hid her murderous thought, this pervert would disappear from the face of the earth as soon as the operation was over. Ellipsis. Victor left the apartment building and returned to the car while whistling a stupid song in a good mood. Thankfully, no bodies were on the ground this time. He got into the driver's seat, as Lily jumped from the back to his side. Let's go, he said. Lily nodded in response then frowned. Why does the young master have the smell of a different woman? She smelled this one before. Pervert young master, can't he go somewhere alone without having some slut rub into him? Victor, who saw her expression, chuckled as he drove off and began to navigate. Using the master ring's tracking feature as Lily watched the road silently. In the back seat, Theta was telling Camellia about her sisters, her cool new home, and how there was a big pool there. The tracking was not easy, as it was basically a hot and cold game where Victor had to follow the ring's target signal. After a while, they left Vane City and began to travel along the highway. After an hour, Victor had to exit it and began to travel along an old mountain road that ended up on a dirt trail. After having to go back 5 times because of dead ends, and after asking no less than 10 extremely helpful village aunts on the road, he seemed to have found the right road near sunset. Isn't it getting late? Lily asked. It's okay, I would have a lot of girls to warm me up later. He said with a smirk, making her a little jealous. She knew that she can't monopolize him and that nothing would really happen. But for some reason, the way he said it really annoyed her. Did he intend to make more than 40 girls warm his bed at the same time? Bad young master. Pervert young master. Is the young master always like this? Camellia whispered to Theta nervously. Yes, isn't he great? Everyone likes him, Theta said, making Camellia and even Lily shake their heads. This girl was hopeless, but it can't be helped. Being raised by perverts like Baron and Titus would surely corrupt a young maiden's perspectives. Soon they reached their destination. An off-grid abandoned factory. According to the villagers he asked on the road, this place was once a project made by some gang to launder money using it as a front. They chose this faraway place to build it to make it hard for anyone to investigate it. The operation was a success for a few years. But it fell when the gang's boss's brother-in-law told the police about him because of some family feud. So they were arrested, and this place has been closed ever since. The ring's signal got very strong here, and Victor was sure that Nick used this place as his secret base. It was both uphill and had perfect hidden and defensive positions. Maybe he should buy this entire mountain and then build a fortress here. There would be a lot of chaos when the reckoning comes, and it's best to have a place far away from society. It was already dark when the car approached the gate of the factory. It was stopped by a masked guard, who had a machine gun in his hand. "This is private property," the guard said in a soft voice as he pointed the machine gun at the car. Victor didn't hesitate and used his ring. This one was one of his slaves. He felt it. The guard scrambled to the ground in pain as Victor left the car with the rest. Victor didn't mess around. He quickly headed to the guard and removed the mask, to reveal a pretty face with long flowing hair. He will have to appreciate her beauty later in a better light. "What's your name?" he asked, but the guard didn't answer, just looked at him with vigilance. Victor didn't hesitate and hit her again with the ring's punishment as he spoke. "Nick is dead. I am your new young master," he said, making the guard shocked after seeing the ring in Victor's hand. "Go get the others and let them line up to welcome me," Victor said as the guard nodded, then quickly stood up and ran inside the factory. Victor didn't hesitate and activated the ring's light punishment on all of the slaves inside. It would make them listen to the guard faster. Victor waited for 5 minutes before leisurely heading inside the factory, followed by the girls. He was welcomed by a big, well-lit courtyard filled with training equipment, in addition to 41 death warriors standing neatly in line with anxious looks on their faces. Each one of them had a clean-shaven tattooed head and burly muscles that were thicker than a tree log. This must be the effect of intensive training. "Where are the girls?" Victor asked the guard. "What girls, young master? There are no girls here. Only us, 41 grown men." No, he said. "You are a male too?" Victor asked without an expression, making the guard nod after some hesitation. After inspecting the guards with his skill, Victor stood there stunned for the next 10 minutes as the 41 men stood there with uncertainty. Only after that, when Lily began to laugh out loud while holding her stomach, did Victor begin to curse. "F***ckuall. He yelled. "Where are my girls?" he asked again, making the warriors not certain how to answer. Ha ha, young master, go ahead and enjoy your blissful night." Lily could not help mocking him, earning herself a dangerous glare from his eyes. But she didn't care, she was in a really good mood right now. "He deserves this. Pervert young master. What are your names?" Victor sighed after a few minutes and asked. He had to work with what he got. "Ah, we are called by our numbers, young master," the guard said. "I am 17 inches, he added. "Okay, from now on you will be called Chick 17, Victor said. "I came here to get 41 chicks, and I am going to get them one way or another," he said unreasonably, making the men, no chicks, nod in approval. That's the only reasonable thing they could do as a response. "Tell me about yourselves," Victor asked as he found himself a random broken chair and sat on it. "Young master, we all come from orphanages that had shady deals with the mafia," Chick 17 said. "Young master Nick bought us and began training us 3 years ago," he added. "Don't call that piece of sh*t Nick a young master in front of me." "What can you do?" Victor asked. We are trained in martial arts and infiltration techniques. Basic military arts. We can use both fire and cold weapons in addition to bombs. And we can also drive many kinds of civilian and combat vehicles," he said. "Can you do logistics or data analysis?" Victor asked. "Only basic tasks, young master," 17 replied, making Victor sigh. He was wrong to expect better from that idiot Nick. Those guys could only do grunt work, nothing else. "Fine then, from now on you will be mine," he said. "Lily, castrate all those men." Victor gave his order, making Lily frown as the men turned pale and covered their crotches. "Young master, please don't do that, we will be very obedient," 17 begged anxiously. "What is wrong with this crazy young master?" "I want to take you to my mansion, and I can't let you attack my girls," Victor said. "Can't the young master use your ring?" Another death warrior interjected as sweat dripped from his bald head. He reminded Victor that there is a function in the ring that would make them lose their abilities as men temporarily. "Ah yes. Fine then, but if any of you tried to do anything to any of my girls, he would make him wish for a quick death," Victor said, making the chicks nod. "Tell me about this place then," Victor asked. "Yes, young master, this is an old factory that was transformed into a combat base. It has 2 stories above ground and 2 below. We have an electricity generation system and freshwater well. We usually restock food and supplies from the villages down the mountain once or twice every 6 months, 17 explained. We use this yard in the first basement for training, and we all live on the ground floor," he added. "Who is your leader? What's your command structure?" Victor asked. "None, young master. We were supposed to be led by the Young brothers, but they didn't return after leaving with young master Nick," 17 who was acting as their representative replied. "Young, never heard of them." Could it be the two idiots who were kicked in the nuts by Lily in the mansion back then? Those guys had already become shish kebab. From now on you would be their leader, Victor said to 17, this guy seemed well respected by the others. Now, do you have a transportation tool? Communication equipment? He asked. Yes, young master, we have a few cars and some encrypted long-range communication devices, he replied. Then get 10 men to follow me, they would act as guards for my mansion. And the rest would stay here and begin expanding this place. I will send you some plans in a couple of days. We will be acting as construction chicks. Victor said. Understood young master, but, it is already night, the way down the mountain is very dangerous. 17 interjected, making Victor frown, this chick was right. Fine, let's have some dinner, I will sleep here tonight then, Victor said, then sat down as the Death Warriors proceeded to set a grand feast for their new master. Those guys worked very efficiently and after 15 minutes the meal was ready. It was not fancy at all, but Victor didn't mind, he ate the worst in his previous life. The girls didn't mind too, especially Theta who was interested in this new kind of food. Why do you have long hair, while the others are bald? Victor asked 17 curiously as he ate. It was Master Nick's command. He wanted me to start acting like a girl for some infiltration mission, that's all I know. Chick 17 said, making Victor frown. What was Nick planning? He will have to look into that later. Get me 2 rooms, Victor said after he finished eating and stood up as Lily wiped his mouth. 17 bowed respectfully then quickly guided him upstairs to the rooms usually used by Nick. There were a few bedrooms with a simple office. After inspecting the place Victor turned to Lily. You go to sleep with Camellia in the other room, I will hug Theta tonight. He said, making Lily a little deflated. I will have my blissful night, he said as he dragged the shocked Theta into his room and then shut the door with a smirk that made Lily open her mouth wide not knowing what to say. Her young master really holds grudges. She didn't argue though, knowing that this must be her punishment for laughing earlier. She was a little jealous, it was worth it. She couldn't help giggling as she remembered Victor's expression earlier. She was no longer concerned about him leaving her after he confessed that he would marry her. And she was getting increasingly familiar with his stupid punishment tactics. He wants to make her jealous. But she was not feeling much as she was sure that Victor would do nothing to Theta. She would miss him a little though. Pervert young master, she thought as she dragged Camellia into the other room and then closed the door. She could only vent on this dog. 17 watched the drama silently then returned to his brothers. Whatever happens, it's not their business. At least this young master was a little nicer than the previous one. Ellipsis. Young master, I am not ready yet, Theta said in a mosquito voice as she stood up shyly near the bed. She was not against the idea, just a little bit shy. Don't worry, didn't Alpha tell you, I will only make you warm my bed. He said as he dusted the bed then laid on it and invited her to his side. She could only nod then to his surprise, took out all her clothes and jumped into his embrace making him open his mouth in shock. What are you doing? He asked. I can only sleep like this, she shyly said as she closed her eyes and began to snort cutely. Titus had weird habits and he taught the girls that they can't sleep in their clothes. The young master smells really nice, she thought as he looked at her clinging to him. Victor could only shake his head as he hugged the stupid girl who was pretending to have fallen asleep. He should tell Hilda to fix their bad habits. It would be bad if they did that outside. Ellipsis. At about 12:00 am Victor opened his eyes as he felt something hot moving in his embrace. It was Theta who was glowing red as a strange object was flowing above her. It was the painting they got in the morning hovering in midair while sending waves of energy into Theta's delicate body. He quickly stepped back in shock then quickly activated his appraisal, but still, he could see nothing. What should he do? Intervened or let it proceed? That girl is lucky though, can this be bad for her? He felt threatened by just looking at this thing. Should he leave her to her fate? No, her fate was already intertwined with his, and he never let his fate be controlled by others ever again. The problem was that he couldn't see what was going on. He could only activate his eyes of destiny and have a look. Targets. Human female, +1. Soul artifact, +10. Cost, 11 order point. 21 remains. Revealing. The world around him changed while a shiver ran down Victor's spine as he saw what was truly happening. He made a mistake, or did he not? Chapter 126, Deathly Choice. The faith threads came from the place where the painting was floating. In his vision, there was a hole in the void in its place. They were crawling toward Theta's delicate body as if to devour her. It took Victor a couple of seconds to understand what was going on here. Those were destiny lines connecting her to another world, some were bad, some were good. Does this girl have another story? Reading the words, soul artifact, in the description log, he realized that this was not happening in the material world but in the sprite one. No wonder his appraisal skill failed. In the real world what he saw was just that the painting was sending many bursts of energy. But in the fate world, Victor could not see those, they were fate neutral. What he saw was something else. In addition to the fate threads, a dark red worm made of many entangled black and crimson threads was materializing. It came out of the void hole and was making its way toward Theta's mouth. Victor was not sure, but he knew what this was. He had heard of it in his previous life. A soul transfer. Something in another world was trying to enter this world through Theta. And it was probably using some kind of energy as camouflage to fool the world's defense system. Once it takes its target body, it will gain its ID and would no longer be discovered by this world as it was now a part of it. In the future, they would call those demon agents. They were agents that the major forces in the other world planted in this world using various techniques just before the reckoning. But why Theta? And how did they send the painting to this world? Too many questions that he couldn't answer. He had some theories, but this was not the time to think about other things. He had to act. After some thought, he took out a bottle of the soul poison, then after opening it, he used his disguise skill to hide Theta and replace her with a pillow, making sure that the poison bottle was in the place of her mouth. Ellipsis. It didn't work. The worm kept heading toward Theta. This thing operates on the soul and seems to ignore the illusions of the material world. Victor watched as more energy poured from the painting and as Theta's body was getting hotter, she even began to moan in pain. Victor cursed himself for being useless. If she was his blood slave things would have been much simpler, but he had no more slots in the skill. Should he leave Theta to her fate? Victor realized that getting the painting was not luck, but fate. Something in the other world has used fate to tie this artifact to Theta. And the luckiest thing that happened to her was meeting him. There should be a way. Victor looked at the worm. It was crawling through the air as if it was battling a strong tide, and was only supported by the other energy. It was weak. Void travel was a very dangerous thing it seems. He had read about the souls when he was studying the Book of Time, as what was transferred to this timeline was his soul that merged with the one from this world. So his soul must be much stronger. This was also the reason why the Book of Time could only be used once, as in the second transfer the soul would be too big to be sent in time without a big sacrifice. After some thought, Victor decided to do something crazy, too crazy even for him. But this was a gamble, and if it succeeded he was sure to gain a lot. He had to do it fast though. He used his disguise skill to change his name to System 11C54H first, then made all his attributes including his authority into ones. Then after one last thought, he opened his mouth and ate the illusory worm. Ellipsis. The Grand Elder was busy carefully trimming the hairs inside his nose when a fat servant barged into his private room. Grand Master. The man stopped to catch his breath. Ah! The Grand Master yelled as the man's shout made him insert the scissors a little too deep. He quickly pulled it out and touched his nose to feel the red blood dripping. He quickly used his handkerchief to cover his nose and took his sword and put it at the servant's neck. You better have a good excuse, he said angrily. The orb. It broke. The servant said, not caring about the sword. What orb? The elder asked with a frown. The awakening artifact, the servant said, making the elder blink twice, then throw the sword and hurry into the ceremony room. Where the orb that was the key to creating the Von Weiss family lay shattered into 100 pieces. Chapter 127, Fateful Encounters. Windy could only hug her knees as she sat in despair. She still remembers the night her village was attacked by that evil gang. They killed her parents and everyone else in cold blood. They found her hiding inside a closet. She still remembers that man's delicate voice as he told his men to take her to the city to sell her. She had never been to the city before. Her clan forbade any interaction with the outside world, but as a curious young lady, she always knew when to ask, as the elders who sometimes left to get supplies would have looser tongues when they were drunk. It was her fault. All of it was her fault. She remembered as tears dripped from her eyes. She found him almost dead by the riverbank and decided to help him. She kept him a secret from her tribe, or they would have killed him. But, who knew that he was a wolf, who after getting better got some men together he attacked the village to plunder all its treasures. They never expected the villagers to resist, so they killed them all after raping the women. They called themselves the Dark Chamber. She only survived because of that man. He said that she saved his life so he would save hers and now they were equal. What kind of twisted logic is that? In the end, she ended up here after changing hands a dozen times, until that evil woman bought her, after making that mouse bite her. She said something about a noble bloodline. Did she need to whip her like that, just because she refused to obey? She could only sigh as she looked at the two poor girls who were with her sleeping. Those two were orphans who had bad luck too. They seemed to have been given some sleeping pills but strangely they didn't affect her. She just pretended to be asleep waiting for a chance to escape, but even after chaining her, they still closed the vault's doors locking her in. Why is that woman so careful? It was as if she had been robbed before. Looking at the room around her full of treasures she felt her heart bleed. Many of those things belonged to her family. She had never understood how precious they were. Are they really precious? She asked herself. At first, that was what she thought, but after seeing that stupid penguin painting that the old man brought a few hours ago, she began to doubt her judgment and aesthetics. The man said that he didn't know what this was but that he felt it was worth something. He asked that nasty woman to try auctioning it for him. She realized that this thing was probably garbage, yet somehow she liked it. Suddenly, her eyes fell on an ugly vase in the corner. Did it just move? No, impossible. It moved again. Could it be haunted? The girl wanted to retreat to a corner but couldn't because of the chains that tied her to the wall. The vase moved a third time, and this time a boy came out of it. How did he fit in? He was wearing black stockings on his head, so she couldn't clearly make out his face. But maybe, just maybe, this guy might be her Prince Charming who would save her from this nightmare. Ellipsis. Tom slowly sneaked out of the vase artifact to be faced with the beautiful eyes of a girl that was looking at him. She was not very pretty but had a noble air around her. At first, he panicked, but after seeing the chain around her beautiful ankle he knew that she was part of the merchandise. Two other girls were sleeping beside her. He slowly put his hand on his mouth indicating that she should stay silent. She nodded in response. What a good girl. Looking around, he couldn't easily appraise the treasures here. So he asked the system for help, but it didn't respond. So he called again. Still nothing. What the F***ck? Didn't it say that it would give him further instructions later? This stupid system was truly whimsical. What to do now? Well, he had come prepared. The greedy vase that hid him had a huge storage space so he would only need to get all that stuff and then run away. Do you want help? He asked the girl who was looking at him with expecting eyes. She nodded with a smile. Then get to work, he said as he began to store the treasures of the vault in the vase under the shocked eyes of the girl. The process was a little slow as he had to sacrifice a drop of blood to the vase, then keep holding the treasure for a few minutes for the vase to swallow it. Some help here? Tom asked the girl. She quickly nodded and stood up then began to hand him the treasures. She also contributed a few drops of blood after seeing that Tom was losing too much. That is until her hands touched the penguin painting, smearing its edge with her blood. A light shone from the painting as it was lit with a blue flame. Then sparks of light began to leave it and hit the girl who moaned in pain. Tom, who didn't know what to do, stood in shock as he watched how the cheap tribal cloth pouch that the girl was wearing reacted to the light and swallowed a part of it as the girl collapsed on the ground as the painting turned into ashes that scattered on the ground. What the F***ck? He wondered. He quickly checked on the girl. She was still alive, just unconscious. He frowned, and after making sure no other strange things happened, he continued to pack the things here making sure that his blood touched nothing besides the vase. Then after he finished, he took the girl inside the vase. He can't leave her after all. Then after looking at the two other girls he did the same. They were pretty. This vase was an S-rank treasure that could store and restore all things at the cost of a drop of blood. The most amazing thing is the fact that it can change its appearance and its information. After giving it to that merchant, under the instructions of the system, he sneaked into the store and went inside of it then waited. Too bad he could not see what was going on outside, so he had to wait until after midnight to make sure that there were no enemies. Now, he stood with the vase in his hand looking around the empty vault. Mission accomplished. Too bad the system was still ignoring him. He took out an escape talisman from his pocket and activated it. Hopefully, he would not end up somewhere dangerous. Ellipsis. When Victor woke up he was in a hospital bed. He could clearly smell the distinct disinfectant smell in the air and feel the tube going from his nose to his throat. He tried to sit up but couldn't. It was as if his body was not responding correctly. Ah! He grimaced in pain. Oh, young master, you're awake. A hot nurse yelped and ran to his side. Victor, who was lying in bed, could clearly appreciate her bust as she leaned over him to take out the medical tube in his throat. He tried to speak but his mouth was a little dry, but after a few tries he could speak. You want to ask how you got here? It was some maid, she said. No, can you give me a kiss? He asked lecherously as he licked his lips. The nurse was startled, but after she pondered for a second, she smiled. Then after looking to the back making sure nobody was watching, she shyly got near and pecked him on the cheek, then retreated briskly. Ah, one more, on the other side, for the symmetry. He said bashfully, making the nurse freeze a second and then with a shy look on her face. She leaned over him so that her lips could reach his other cheek, expecting him to use the chance to steal a kiss from her lips. She was not that naive. But to her surprise, the moment her lips touched his cheek, he used his teeth to bite her throat that was right across his mouth. The nurse tried hard to let go but couldn't. She tried again, but Victor's jaws were as if they were made of steel. He was mumbling something. In the end, she was able to retreat, leaving a chunk of meat in Victor's mouth as the world distorted around them. Victor was now standing while chewing in front of a demoness that was holding her throat in pain. Trying to play those stupid soul games with me, are you an idiot? Did you really think I would surrender my soul to you with only a nurse cosplay? Victor asked casually as he inspected his ethereal body. This was his soul and he was now inside his soul realm. After that, he looked at the demoness facing him. She had the appearance of a woman with a cat head. And no, she was not cute at all, not of the sexy type you read about in novels. But the nightmare fuel breed you might encounter in a horror story or a Lovecraftian novel. She had red glowing eyes and wild fangs that protruded randomly from her wide mouth. Her body was long and slender, too slender. He could see her bones through her gray skin. Her claws were bony, long and sharp, ready to pounce on her prey. How could you move? Why did you know? The demoness asked in a hoarse voice as she frowned. She was not speaking using a language. In the world of the souls there are no languages. But they could strangely understand each other. Why would I tell you? Now, how should I eat you? He asked as chains began to rise from the void and constrict the demon. Ah, how do you know these soul defense techniques? Who are you? The demon shouted, touching her aching throat again, to feel a hot crest was burned in it. It must be when he bit her. Damn you, you cursed me, you piece of sh*t. How can you? She screamed as the chains constricting her got tighter. This is my domain. Although you used some of your energy to fool me, it is still my home. He answered as he floated there, inspecting her. You are crazy, you can't kill me. I already have your body. If I die, your body would die too. You better surrender, the demon said. Ah, you guys are really good at lying. I almost believed you. As long as this body has a soul, it would not die. Where are you from, Volan or Lisfor? No, I heard there are dirty cats in Turval. Are you one of Kiver's minions? Victor asked lazily, not expecting an answer as those demons were usually very tight-lipped. He didn't need one anyway. He would have all her memories when he devours her soul. How do you know about this? Who are you? The demoness asked. I am just a friendly young master. He said arrogantly. Then let this lady go. I will not bother you. The demoness said as she felt the chains getting hotter. Would you think I would let you escape after entering this dragon's den? I want to eat you. It is very rare to get a higher demon soul readily served. He said. Damn you. The demoness screamed as the chain around her body began to glow red hot, making her realize that he was going to burn her. How does he know this? The unconnected world didn't have extensive knowledge in the arts of the souls. Do you think I would let you win this easily? I just have to reveal myself to the world, and now that I have your body, you would be sent into a dungeon for eternity or get destroyed with me. She said with anger. You can't do that. You will just be eaten obediently. Now be a good demoness and get fried quietly. He said dismissively as a chair materialized out of thin air and he sat on it with his legs crossed as if he was waiting for the barbecue to finish. You will pay for this. Do you know who I am? The demoness shouted. Just another pussy. Why would I want to know your name? He asked with a smirk. Damn you, the demoness shouted as she sent a burst of energy into the depth of the darkness. The system detected an anomaly. Foreign object found. ID was compromised. Elimination initiated. Constructing dungeon. Constructing dungeon failed. Target is not alive. Eliminating ID holder. Target eliminated. Now you're dead. Now. Any second. Why are you not dead? Ah, the demoness screamed as the chains around her burst into flames. Nice to meet you and goodbye. You will make a good fertilizer for my soul. Victor said as he watched her unwillingly turn into a cloud of sparkling dust that floated toward him and then integrated with his ethereal body. The next moment Victor felt a pain going through his entire being. Oops, he seemed to have eaten too much. That demoness was stronger than he thought. Chapter 128. What to do? When Lily heard the sound of something falling to the ground in the next room, she smiled first, thinking that Theta had done the same as Arya, and kicked the perverted young master out of bed. But when she heard Theta's scream after that, she jumped out of bed and ran to the other room while taking out her dagger. Victor was unconscious on the floor, while the naked Theta was crying to his side trying to wake him up. No enemies were in sight. What happened? Lily said as she took the bed sheet and threw it to Theta to cover herself. Ah, the young master, he took the shot for me, she said while crying. Speak clearly, Lily said as she checked Victor's breathing. It was normal as if he was sleeping. But he seemed to be not waking up. A few minutes ago, the painting that the young master bought for me. Ah, it is my fault. Theta cried more. Drink this, Lily said, giving Theta a glass of water, that the smart Camellia brought, then helped Lily carry Victor to the bed after that. And no matter how much they called him or pushed him, he didn't wake up. Can you speak now? Lily asked Theta as she brushed Victor's hair with her fingers, trying hard to remain calm. Ah, the painting, the one the young master bought today. It suddenly grew hot and then began to shoot light into me. I couldn't move. Then, there was a screen with some words on it. Theta said as she frowned while trying hard to remember. What screen? Lily asked with a frown. It said players registered. Then after that, when I opened my eyes, the young master. He was looking at something in the air. When I looked at it, I realized that it was the painting, hovering in midair, and the cat in it felt bad as if it wanted to eat me. Then, a light shot from it. The young master pushed me aside at that moment and swallowed that red light. Theta said as tears kept pouring from her eyes. It is all my fault, she said as she buried her head in the sleeping Victor's chest. Where is the painting now? Lily asked. I don't know, maybe it burnt into nothing, Theta answered while pointing to a place near the bed. Lily quickly looked there and noticed some brown ash on the ground. It smelled like burnt paper. She quickly collected them in a plastic bag. What should she do now? This was probably not a medical problem, but a magical one. She didn't know what to do. Could it be poison? She quickly took out a detoxification pill and a healing pill and then tried to feed them to Victor. But he couldn't chew them, so she had to crush them in her mouth and feed them to his mouth with hers, making Theta blush as she watched. After waiting for half an hour, she concluded that they didn't work. What now? Too bad she couldn't figure out what was wrong with the young master. She just looked at the sleeping Victor and thought about what he would do in such situations. Should she call the family? Probably not, as she knew that Victor didn't trust them. First, she should take him back to the mansion. Maybe Hilda knows something, and maybe she should try to get a healer. That Anna girl, Camellia, get the men and the car, see if they have a van or a truck. Then find me a stretcher, we are returning home now. Lily said. Yes, mistress, Camellia replied, then ran outside. This was a chance to prove her worth. Theta, Lily said after a few minutes. She was now a little calmer and thought of something. Yes, Theta answered nervously, wondering if Lily would punish her. Say the words. Open status menu in your mind. Lily said. Theta frowned then nodded. Wah, Theta said as she stepped back, letting go of the bed sheet she covered herself with. You are now a player, keep it a secret. Lily said. What is your authority? She asked after a few minutes. Ah, authority. 5, Theta answered, making Lily a little shocked. How about class? Ah, class. What does a divine gambler mean and why is there a SSS next to it? She asked. Quote. Lily didn't answer, didn't know how to answer, didn't want to answer. This girl is a monster. Ah, Theta didn't know how to answer. Are my Santa, Stu, status bad? Theta asked timidly. Didn't I tell you not to tell anyone? Why did you tell me? Lily asked as she turned back to Theta. On the contrary, they are super strong. But if people knew about them, they would take you away. Lily said, making Theta freeze, then nod. Miss Lily, please don't tell anyone. She said timidly. Don't worry. Now go get dressed, then help me transport the young master downstairs. Lily said. Oh, and be careful, you should have more strength now. Lily warned her, but was a little late, as Theta, who wanted to put on her skirt, pulled it too strong and got it ripped. Ellipsis. They reached the mansion at sunrise. Night travel in the mountains was very dangerous, but with Lily's enhanced vision she could drive the van easily. They left. The SUV up there as 17 would drive it to the mansion later. Hilda was the first to welcome them with a smile when the car stopped next to the mansion. The girls were being given a lesson by the twins, while Margaret was busy flirting with Alex. She couldn't understand why the young master tolerated such behaviors. But it's not her business. Her smile turned to a frown when she saw the unconscious Victor. Miss Hida, we will talk about the young master later. Those 5 men, chicks are at your disposal. Arrange rooms at the separate building and use them to guard the mansion. They were chosen by the young master, Lily said, pointing to the 5 muscular men who were chosen by 17 to serve as guards. She wanted to bring 10 men, but with Victor laying there it could only fit 5 men. I will take the young master upstairs to his room. Please wake Margaret up and let her join me, Lily said as she carried Victor with Theta, who was much stronger now. Camellia bowed politely to Hilda. Camellia, fill Hilda in about what happened yesterday, Lily shouted at her as she entered the mansion. Ellipsis. Lily was wiping Victor's mouth with a napkin when Margaret and Alex entered the room. This young master was drooling as if he had just eaten a juicy steak. What happened? Alex, who was dressed as a slutty maid, asked nervously as Margaret went to Victor's side and held his hand with concern. This was the man she chose, would he leave her so soon? We don't know yet, Lily said. Margaret, I want you to call Anna. Wasn't she a healer? Lily asked. Ah, yes. Margaret jumped to her feet and then ran to her room to get her phone just as Arya and the twins entered the room and went to Victor's side. What happened? Is he okay? Arya asked with concern. We don't know, we will speak later, Lily answered. The young master has an appointment with that journalist today, and an auction later at night, Arya said with a frown. Then turned to Lily as she was the one Victor trusted the most. Ah, we will wait for Anna, Lily said anxiously. She was not brave enough to decide as she was afraid to ruin one of her young master's plans. Hilda, who heard the story from Camellia, entered the room after that with a medical device. This was a very advanced family-issued instrument. It was an all-in-one diagnostic device. This thing was like the phones the family used, 20 years ahead of its time. After taking a blood sample and connecting Victor's wrist to the device it began its analysis and after 15 minutes it gave the results. No anomaly was detected. Please replace the calibration sample with a valid patient. The device found no problems except the fact that Victor was too healthy to be a normal human. This thing was not made for players after all. With a frown, Lily looked at everyone, then began to tell them about what happened. The room was silent for the next hour, as no one knew what to do. The rest of the girls in the house also came to take a look at Victor but was kicked out by Hilda as the room got too crowded. Soon Margaret hurried inside with Anna, who was shocked by the luxuriant mansion. It made her wonder whether she should throw herself at Victor as Margaret did. But she changed her mind when she saw all the pretty girls who were anxiously sitting in Victor's room. Wait, that one is a guy, right? Why is he dressed in a maid uniform? Why is the dress so revealing? Is he acting in some AV? Is this even legal? They did say that Victor was a pervert. Anna, can you see what is wrong with the young master? Mina, who was holding Victor's hand tenderly, asked her. Let me try, she said as she approached the sleeping Victor. Last week she was doing as Victor advised her, and she began to study medicine intending to apply to a medical school. Apparently, players didn't need any exams. Just an appraisal test. She silently put her hands on Victor and then began to use her healing skill. Still, nothing happened. Why isn't it working? Margaret asked when she saw the frown on Anna's face. I don't know, my skill is not working at all. It is as if he is perfectly healthy, she said as she stood up. I am sorry, she said. It's okay, Margaret said reassuring her friend with a sigh. Lily frowned, not knowing what to do. Leave us alone, Hilda told everyone, who was a little startled, but quickly nodded after seeing her serious face. One by one, they left the room, including Alex who was very concerned, but didn't dare to show it affectionately like the other girls. As for Margaret, she went out with Anna, she intended to escort her out. She was a smart girl. She knew that being here didn't help at all. It would be better to do something useful rather than wait here endlessly. Lily was left alone with Hilda and the unconscious Victor. Call Kai, she said in a calm voice. The others didn't notice but she did. Lily was on the verge of losing her mind. But, Lily didn't know what to say. Do it. As Victor's butler, he would not reveal anything. Hilda said. Lily nodded then called Kai. Kai, this is Lily, the young master had an accident. Lily said. What happened? Kai, who usually didn't like to have a lengthy conversation with Lily, asked seriously. Lily proceeded to tell him what happened last night. Can the family help? She asked after that while biting her lip. If the healing pill didn't work then this would be tricky, but since the young master's state is stable, it would be better to wait for a few days. There is big trouble in the family now, and if something really did happen to the young master last night, some people would make some unreasonable conclusions. I can't tell you more, but hide the young master's condition for a few days at least. Kai said, making Lily surprised. Is the situation really that bad? She asked. More than anything you could imagine. I will call you if anything changes. Kai said, then hung up the phone. If Lily was not concerned about Victor, she would have called Kai again to scold him. But she was not in the mood. She just wanted her young master to wake up. He can't help, Hilda asked. Something wrong in the family. Should we contact Master Theodore? Lily asked, making Hilda frown and nod after hesitating a little and then calling George's phone. His answer was the same as Kai's. What should we do now? Lily asked, but no one could answer. Ellipsis. Who did it? Charlotte asked the kneeling men in a cold voice. We don't know. We didn't have cameras inside, the man said, not realizing that his head was already separated from his body. Who did it? She asked the second man. Please spare me, he said as his head was separated too. After killing the 11 vault guards and the manager, Charlotte looked around the empty vault in anger as she began to bite her nails. She lost a lot, this time. Her brother was sure to use this against her. Young mistress, shall we cancel the auction? An old butler asked. Never. No, I already took the small goods and put them in my ring. They will be enough for now. Just find some player stores and buy some treasures from them. Those guys always have some secret stashes. She said coldly, knowing well that no matter what treasures she gets they would be garbage if compared with the things that were stolen. Understood, he said as he bowed respectfully. Just find out who took my stuff, then burn him and his entire family. You have 1 week, she said to the old butler, who stood there shivering as she left the room. Ellipsis. Tom looked at the unconscious girl with a frown. What happened to her? And what was that? After inspecting her from head to toe he realized one thing. This girl was not pretty. She was not ugly either. Just plain, like a brick in a wall. Completely unremarkable. Sir, thank you for helping us. The 2 other girls who woke up thanked him. It's okay, he said with a fresh smile. Those 2 were cute. He wouldn't mind adding them to his harem. Do you have a place to stay? He asked with concern. No, we were sold from an orphanage. The older of the 2 said. Then stay here, but you can't come out. They would surely be looking for you. He said if those girls insisted on leaving he would have to lock them in. They have seen his face. He shouldn't have brought them along, but they were too cute to be left alone. Ah, but we can't pay you, the other girl said, with a blush on her face. Tom was not really handsome, but he had this manly aura around him that made her feel strange, but she didn't hate the feeling. Don't worry, I have a lot of girlfriends living here, and they might need some help around the house. He said making the girls frown a little then nodded. They have already seen this place. They couldn't believe that this casual young man owned an entire apartment building. How about I take you on a tour? He asked the girls. I will introduce you to the others. He added. Yes, they responded at the same time. But what about this older sister? One of them asked. Don't worry, this room is secure, we will check on her later. Tom said, making sure not to alert the girls to the hidden cameras. Ellipsis. After 30 minutes Wendy opened her eyes then sat up and looked around with a frown. Where am I? She began to inspect the room she was in. It was a bedroom but was quite bare. Only a bed and a desk. Last night, yes, she remembers. That thief. She quickly inspected her body. It was intact. After that, she took out the cloth pouch that hung from her neck and opened it, and took a damaged white coin from it. She couldn't believe it but this thing had saved her life. That thing, she didn't know why it attacked her. But thanks to the attack, she managed to activate the coin and inherit her family's legacy. Her mind was now full of memories and information about all sorts of things. A long time ago, her family was a strong family of players. An existence that could rule the world, but one day, their awakening treasure got stolen by an unknown thief. They tried hard to get it back, or at least get another awakening artifact, but they failed, and after the death of the last player in the family, the elders decided to retreat into the mountains with what was left of their treasures, hoping that the prophesied day of reckoning would come, so that they would be able to rise again using all the things they hid away. This coin was one of several treasures her ancestors kept. It would activate when the holder becomes a player. It was like a memory capsule that also had a strong protection charm. She didn't know how and why, but that penguin painting seemed to have turned her into a player seconds before that thing attacked. And that was enough for her to inherit all the memories and skills in the coin, which self-destructed with the attacker. Tears fell from her eyes as she looked at the coin. This thing was given to her by her grandmother. What should she do now? At this moment, the door of the room opened and the man who saved her came in. He didn't have the stocking on his head, but she could recognize him after hearing his voice. "You are awake," he said. "Yes, thank you for saving me," she said in a quiet voice. "It's okay," he said. "I am Tom, what's your name?" he asked. "Windy," she answered. "What happened there?" he asked. I don't remember," she lied. She would never trust a man again. "I see. Do you have a place to go? Those guys are probably searching the city for you now," he said. "No," she shook her head. "Then stay here," he said with a refreshing smile that made her heart skip a beat. "Okay," she said, "I already saw your face. You would probably kill me if I didn't accept." She said. No, never," he said stuttering. This girl was not as naive as the others. "Whatever," she said, "it is better to stay with this guy. And maybe she can try to get her family's treasure that fell in his hands." Chapter 129, What the? Rita didn't understand what was going on. The pain in her body was intolerable. That bastard Levi didn't even try to be nice. The moment she entered the mansion, she was arrested by 2 guards who took her to some underground lab, where Levi was waiting. It was full of glass containers with hideous creatures inside, and many people were chained to the wall. Many of them seemed to be rotting, as some scientists took samples. Levi didn't even look at her when they brought her in and stripped her of all her clothes, then after strapping her to a metal table. After that, he ordered his men to begin the operation without even batting an eye for her. They started to inject her with all kinds of nasty medicines, making her feel many kinds of pain she had never experienced before. No matter how she begged him, he didn't respond. He just kept looking at her with cold eyes, as if she was some insect. She kept screaming until Levi gagged her mouth himself. Ignoring her pleading eyes, he didn't even talk to her, just giving commands to the people in lab coats around him to hurry up. Wasn't he supposed to be nice? Wasn't he supposed to be her future husband? Didn't her father tell her that Levi would take care of her and treat her like a princess? She didn't know what was going on. Why? She was obedient all her life. She did what her grandfather told her to do. So why treat her like this? The last thing she thought of before passing out was Victor's smug face. Did they know that she was kissed by him? Did they know that she was unfaithful? Would he save her? She felt despair as she fell into darkness while wondering why she was abandoned. Even the system didn't respond to her anymore. Levi entered the grand office after politely knocking on the door and hearing his father's response. "All finished?" Martin von Sway asked his son, who sat on an opposing chair. "Yes. The initial state was complete," Levi answered. "What rank did you use?" "The SS rank 1. It would need to cultivate the corpse's energy for the next 2 months." "When do you plan to send it back?" Martin asked. "Anne's birthday is in 4 months, it would be a good date for a funeral," Levi answered in an evil tone, just as a man materialized out of thin air. "Master, young master," he greeted, "I have very important news," he said. "Speak," Martin said coldly. "The von Weiss family. A few days ago a rumor had spread that an accident happened in the Awakening Hall. After a thorough investigation and after confirming the news from all of our sources, we concluded that their awakening artifact, the blue orb, was destroyed." "What?" Levi, who was surprised, stood up from his chair. Martin was also surprised, but he didn't show it. "Is the news credible, or is it a trap?" Martin asked while squinting his eyes. "Our spy had seen the broken orb. He said that it had a long crack across it as if she was split with a sword." The spy said. "What do you think, Levi?" Martin asked his son. "If it is a trap, what would be their purpose? To make the spies act? It doesn't make any sense. But if this was true, then the von Weiss family would start to do 2 things," he said. "First, they would start fighting for dungeons like crazy, wanting to find another awakening artifact. Second, they would try to make as many marriages with the other families as possible to gain allies and maybe try to steal another artifact." He added, "But it doesn't matter, as our plan had already started. We just have to time our attack well," he concluded. Wendy felt strange when she sat at the table surrounded by all the pretty girls who claimed to be Tom's girlfriends. Just how many girls did this Tom have? She wondered as a girl handed her a dish. Did you get used to living here? Tom is really the best, she said, making Wendy frown. Why does it seem like those girls are brainwashed? Even the two who were rescued with her were now all over Tom. Yesterday she heard them whispering that they did it in turns all night the day before. She had been here for 2 weeks now, and although they were very nice to her, she felt very strange. She was from a very conservative family. It was forbidden to marry more than one wife in her village. In fact, she was even forbidden from touching a man. As in her village, women were the leaders while men were of a lower status. Tom was nice, really nice. And she liked his smile. She might even be falling in love with him. But she kept having this strange feeling that something was wrong. She tried to ask him about the treasures he got, but he refused to tell her anything, saying that a young girl shouldn't concern herself with random stuff. What young girl? She was older than him. Should she tell him about her being a player? No, she would never trust a man ever again. Not after what that bastard did. Should she leave this place and try finding a dungeon to conquer to become stronger? She wondered while looking at her stats screen that felt wrong. Why does it differ from the memories she inherited from her family? When Linda entered the house, she was greeted by a smiling maid. Young mistress, she greeted as she bowed. How was your vacation? She asked politely. Great, Linda said. Where is my mother? She asked. Yesterday the mistress got a call then hurried somewhere, the maid replied. And the one downstairs? Linda asked. The medicines are not working efficiently anymore. We had to increase the doses. The maid answered. Oh, too bad, Linda said with a sad expression, but the maid didn't feel sadness in her voice. Suddenly the door behind them opened. What are the two of you doing here blocking the hallway? Amelia, who had just arrived, said. Mother, welcome back, Linda said as she greeted her mother with the maid who moved to the side. You're back, good, follow me to the study, Amelia said heading inside as Linda followed while wondering if her mother found something out. No, impossible, the doctor is already sleeping with the fish with all of his staff. Is everything fine? Linda asked after she closed the study door and watched her mother relax on her leather chair. Our plans must be hastened. The family has ordered that you must marry Victor as soon as possible, she said. But Bill is waiting for me, Linda wanted to say. No excuses. Remember your position, Amelia said, making Linda shut up and nod. School will start the day after tomorrow. Make sure to use it as a chance to propose. If you ruin our plans you would be punished, not only by me, but also by the family, Amelia said, making Linda shiver in fear. Jane Armstrong was furious. That bastard Victor stood her up. When she went to his company to meet him, that crazy secretary Susan ordered the guard to kick her out. But she was going to do her report with or without his help. She has already discovered that Nick had bought an old factory out of town using a fake name. But he could not escape her nose. So she sent her partner to keep an eye on the mansion while she came here. Some might call her reckless, but that's the way she always worked. She didn't become a famous journalist by being a coward. When she reached the factory she was expecting some illegal stuff, sex trafficking, or drug manufacturing. But what she discovered there didn't make sense at all. Peeking through a break in the fence, she saw more than 30 sweaty naked men, doing push-ups with boulders on their back, as their leader, who had long hair, screamed at them. Tell me what's our name? He asked loudly. We are the Chicks, they yelled back. What do? We act as chicks, they yelled back. Who is our master? The Lord of Chicks, they yelled back. Jane was losing her mind. What was going on? She wanted to go forward and take a picture, but she happened to step on a plastic bottle that made some noise. That startled her and made her yelp in surprise. The next moment she was surrounded by those men, Chicks. Damn, they even had the name Chick tattooed on their chests with a number. What kind of sick cult is this? Charlotte was biting her fingernails while looking at the disgraceful auction results. The auction was an utter failure. Her father had just called and yelled at her for being incompetent. Thankfully she was given one more chance. She must prove her power or she would be kicked out of the competition to be the next patriarch, and end up getting married off to some other family. Just as Charlotte was planning to call for some servants to vent her anger, an old woman knocked on the door then entered and saluted respectfully. She was her new servant. Hopefully, this one would be more useful than that old man. Is there anything? Charlotte asked with an annoyed voice. We have news, the old woman reported. What? Apparently, most of the world's countries are creating special units in their army to face incidents like the dungeon outbreak. The family has ordered us to supply them with dungeon monsters' blood. Someone had leaked to them the recipe of the lower power enhancing serum. They plan to create super soldiers with it. The old woman said. Oh, we do have some blood barrels in stock. See to it, Charlotte said. Anything else? The Von Weiss family seems to be in some kind of trouble, but we don't know what's wrong yet. But their recent actions are strange, she said as he handed Charlotte a report. Mentioning the Von Weiss family made her remember that hateful guy, Victor. He didn't attend the auction, and that made her annoyed as she was prepared to disgrace him. But, let's see, Charlotte replied. Who hesitated a little then opened it and read what was inside. The report was about how they were sending their men to conquer dungeons all over the world. They were even preparing to raid a very dangerous dungeon that had been left untouched for many years. In addition to that, Marcos, the patriarch of the Von Weiss family, was asking all interested families if they could offer brides to the elites of his family, saying that he wanted to diversify the family's bloodline and form new alliances. What kind of bullshit is this? He was clearly trying to make ties with as many families as possible. Those lower powers who had some girls laying around would throw them to be married. Getting to marry someone from a high noble family like the Von Weiss was not something they were going to miss. Even if the girl ended up being mistreated, the appeal of power was very tempting, especially to those fallen families. Mistress, there is something else, the old woman said hesitantly. What? Charlotte, who was full of thoughts, asked. There was a man that came with some treasures to sell, she said. And, Charlotte asked dismissively, we investigated him and found out that all of the things he brought were bought from stalls. He seemed to have some kind of a unique identification skill, the old woman said. Ah, who was he? Charlotte asked as she looked at the old woman. She was interested. He used to be some delivery man, but after an accident, he became a eunuch. And that seemed to have awakened something in him. So he became a player. The old woman answered. Oh, interesting. Let's go meet him, Charlotte said. A new player would not say no to a sponsor, especially one with a disability. Those guys are easier to control if you promise to cure them, she said. Yes, mistress. What was his name again? Charlotte asked. Oliver. His name is Oliver. Jerry chose to resign. He no longer wanted to be a simple door guard. He felt that he must do some important things in his life, but being born in a poor family and being a school dropout, he didn't have many choices. He joined the army. He didn't know if this was due to his good luck or bad luck, but he was drafted into a new unit that the army has created, the Monsters Elimination Unit. He had heard of those, the news was full of them. Apparently, a secret army biolab to produce super soldiers was infiltrated by a terrorist, who released the test subjects there. Those damn terrorists keep ruining everyone's life. The army sent a super soldier to hunt them. And that was what the recordings showed. Jerry was scared, but after remembering how that guy battled the giant mantis, he renewed his resolve. He too wants to be like that. To hunt monsters and woo all the girls. And apparently, the pay for this unit was quite high. He will be the strongest and show all those slutty women who mocked him who is the real boss. He will return and claim that slut Mira and Arya to be his bed-warming maids after snapping that arrogant Victor's neck. Move on, men. Come on, you pussies. My grandmother could run faster than you, the sergeant yelled as the platoon moved. Alpha was away for about 2 weeks now. When she parked her car next to the mansion, she was surprised by the 2 bald men at the door. The girls she got at the brothel were now settled, more obedient, and they knew what to do. So she decided to return to ask Victor to send some instructors to help with their training. She was planning to use them to start an information gathering network. Alpha introduced herself to the men, who let her in after calling Hilda. When she entered through the front door, she was surprised by the gloomy atmosphere. The twins were busy sweeping the floor with gloomy faces. She wanted to ask what happened but was interrupted by Beta, who hugged her hard as soon as she entered, saying that she missed her. After asking what was wrong in the mansion, she was informed of what happened. So she asked Beta to get Theta to meet her at Victor's room, then hurried upstairs to check on him. That bastard was her blood master. If he died, she would perish with him. In the room, Victor was lying unconscious on his bed with an IV saline bag connected to his wrist, while the haggard Lily was lying to his side looking at his face. Ah, Alpha, nice to meet you again, Lily said as she sat up when she noticed the arrival of Alpha, who was stunned for a moment. This is the first time she saw Lily's face without a veil. She was surprised by Lily's beauty, but more importantly, there was a person in her memory that looked exactly like that. Could it be? This is not the time for that conversation. How is he? Alpha asked after a few seconds. Stable, we don't know what happened to him. His body is completely healthy, Lily said, not noticing anything strange, as she wiped the tear marks on her puffed cheeks. Let me see, Alpha said as she approached him and began to look at his body. Nothing strange. Did you try any healing pills and skills? She asked. Yes, Lily told her the proceeds to inform her of the many things they tried this past week. Ah, big sister Alpha, I missed you. Theta, who entered the room, ran to Alpha and hugged her, then began to weep. Big sister, the young master. Can you heal him? It is all my fault, she said as tears filled her swollen eyes. She must have been crying a lot. Tell me exactly what happened, Alpha replied as she patted Theta's silky hair. She didn't expect that Victor's clutches would reach her little sister so fast. Theta nodded, then repeated what happened to Alpha, bit by bit, answering every question Alpha raised. If my guess was correct, this should be a soul attack, Alpha said with a grim face. Soul attack? Lily and Theta asked. Yes, I don't know why it happened, but if what you told me was true, and the fact that Victor took the attack willingly, then he should have been assured of his survival. Alpha said. She didn't know Victor for a long time, but from what she observed, this guy would never take a loss. His action might appear random, but every move he makes seems calculated. Probably, Lily replied. Her young master was not that stupid. Then why did Theta become a player? Lily suddenly asked. I don't know either, she said as she observed her downcast little sister. Did you get familiar with being a player? Alpha asked her with a sigh. Ah yes, Aunt Hilda explained many things, she knows a lot. And Miss Lily gave me a book that had everything explained, she said, making Alpha become a little jealous. She wanted to show off in front of her little sister. But, Theta suddenly said. But what? Alpha asked eagerly. She wanted to answer her little sister's tough question and show her knowledge. What is this? Mana bar on my status screen, it was not mentioned in the book. She asked with a frown. What mana bar? Lily and Alpha asked at the same time. The blue one beneath the health and stamina bars. She answered innocently, making Alpha and Lily look at each other in shock. What the F***ck? What health and stamina bars? Chapter 130, a slut. This one looks pretty on you, sister, Mia said as she looked at the pretty emerald dress her sister was trying. Yeah, let's buy it too. I will take two, Iris said as she handed her credit card to the saleswoman, who was glaring with disgust at the two sisters who had already tried 20 dresses. If it were not for her training, she would have kicked them out already. Wah, a black golden card. Is this real? The saleswoman thought as she looked at the card and then ran to the cashier. Sister, those dresses are very expensive, Mia said embarrassingly. She has already bought 3 super pretty dresses for herself. Don't worry, I have a lot of money, Iris replied as the saleswoman handed her back her card with respect and then headed to wrap the dresses for her. Who is the second dress for? Mia asked as she wore different size clothes. A friend I met on my trip. I thought the emerald dress would suit her well. She will come here in 2 days to attend school. Iris answered. Will she live with us in your new villa? Mia asked. That's the plan, I think you would also like her, Iris said as her sister looked at her curiously. I wish father would stop being stubborn and come to live with us too. The villa is huge, Mia said with a sigh. It's okay, the most important thing is the fact that he is healthy again, so we don't have to worry about him. He wants to keep tending to his shop too, Iris said. Her adoptive father still had feelings for her late adoptive mother, so he didn't want to leave the house they built together. Yeah, the doctor had said that it was a miracle that he was cured. What was that pill you fed him? I told you to stop asking. I will not tell you anything. It is a new top-secret medicine developed by my real family, Iris said as she took the bags from the bowing saleswoman's hands. I am sorry, boss. I didn't know it was you. The saleswoman apologized. She was hoping not to get fired, as she had realized her mistake. Don't worry about it, but be careful next time and don't give the customers nasty looks ever again, Iris said as she dragged her sister out of the store. Sister, why did that nasty woman call you boss? Mia asked. Ah, didn't I tell you that the family had given me some properties to try my hand at? This entire mall is a part of it, Iris said casually as her sister stood in shock. Should she search for her real family too? Ellipsis. Did you really get accepted? Georgie asked with some envy in his voice. Yup, school will start in 2 days. Margaret replied with a smile as she leafed through the song catalog. She was now in a gathering with her high school friends. They decided to meet and spend the night at a karaoke lounge. Wow, I can't believe that not only the smart Mina and Mana got into the academy, but also you and Tom, Sarah said with a sigh, as their other friends looked at Margaret with envious eyes. Why did those two not come? She asked. They have a part-time job, Margaret responded casually, keeping the twins' secret. What did you do to get accepted? A friend asked her. I slept with the right guy, Margaret said proudly while wondering when he would wake up from his coma. It has already been 2 weeks. Can you introduce me to him? A slutty girl asked. Not now, maybe when you get prettier. His standards are too high. Margaret replied casually, making the girl glare at her angrily. I heard Tom was accepted too. How did he do it? A boy with thick glasses asked, wanting to defuse the situation. I heard that he sold his kidney. A sporty guy who used to bully Tom said, making the girls nod. They heard that rumor too. Tom was too poor to afford such a school. Just then the room's door opened, and Tom entered with Peter. Peter, Margaret just told us that she got into the academy, the slutty girl said as she threw herself at Peter, not caring about Tom. She still considered him a poor guy, unworthy of her noble attention. If it were not for his relationship with rich Peter or the fact that he was accepted at the elite academy, she would have convinced her friends to kick him out of here. Ah, I got in too, Peter said casually as he sat down, dragging the girl to sit in his lap and making everyone look at him with a shocked expression while Tom silently got a seat in the back while looking at his classmates' faces. Most of those guys used to make fun of him. Just you wait, he thought. How, did you also sleep with some guy? Georgie asked mockingly. If it were only Margaret, it could be possible. But how could Peter, who could only pass his exams and graduate after bribing the school? Well, not just one guy, Peter said with a smile, making his former classmates give him a strange look. Especially the girl that was coquettishly sitting in his lab. It's not what you think, let me explain. Do you remember that day we went hiking in the mountains? When you left with Sarah early? Peter began to explain. Ah, yes, sorry about that, Georgie said, not intending to elaborate on what he did with Sarah, who was blushing on his side as her girlfriends giggled. Yeah, well, we fell into a deep cave and had to spend the night there, as we couldn't get any help and it was getting dark. So I technically did sleep with the 2 other guys there. Tom was one of them. You can ask him, Peter clarified with a smile, as Tom nodded, making the slutty girl who sat on Peter's lap sigh in relief. Thankfully her target for the night was still straight. Ah, sorry, I shouldn't have left you at that time. Georgie apologized. He felt guilty because he left early that day about leaving his friends to be stranded in the wilds, as he enjoyed the best night of his life. It's okay, because in the depths of that cave, we found an ancient historical site. So after that, in the morning, we climbed our way back to the surface, then reported our discovery. They decided to grant us seats at the academy for our accomplishment. Peter lied. This was something they agreed upon earlier as an excuse. They can't tell their friends about the dungeon. Tom used this excuse too when his girlfriends asked. You mean the one at the cloudy mountain? A friend asked with envy. Yes, Peter said, making Georgie get a little regretful. If he went with them he would have gotten into the academy too. But feeling Sarah's hand grasping his, he changed his mind. He got the girl of his dreams, and that was enough for him. With that thought in his mind, he smiled at her. Cloudy Mountain. Ah, I heard about that one. The entire area was closed off a few weeks ago, even the movie crew that was shooting a film there had to change location. Another gossip-loving girl said. Yes, that's the one, he said. Then, Anna, are you going to study at the academy too? Sarah asked. I don't have enough money for that. Even after getting an acceptance letter, you need to pay a hefty fee, you know. Anna said. I also got a scholarship for medical school. I will go there next month. Anna added. Ah, I see. So Peter, did your father pay your tuition for you? The slutty girl asked with a charming voice. Who else would? I am not like Margaret. No young master would be willing to sponsor me. Peter answered jokingly, as the girl who was clinging to him giggled. Should she try to seduce his father? No, she didn't like old men. Then Tom, how did you get in? Did you offer your ass to some young master too? Or sell one of your kidneys? A mean-looking girl asked mockingly, as her classmates looked at Tom for an answer, waiting for a chance to mock him. Tom is very rich, you know. He found some treasure at a stall a while back then sold it in an auction. He owns an entire apartment building out of town, the one with the big T letter. Margaret interjected before Tom could organize his words, making all of her classmates look at Tom, who was sitting in the corner in shock. They know that building. It is visible from the highway. Really? The slutty girl asked. Yeah, I was lucky, Tom said casually while glaring at Margaret hatefully. She ruined his plans. He was waiting for his classmates to mock him before slapping their faces and leaving the gathering using his new sports car, which he parked outside. Ah, the girls were shocked, not knowing what to say, while the guys who used to mock Tom for being poor lowered their heads in shame. Suddenly, Margaret's phone rang. Yes, she answered. What? I will be right back, she said, then hung up and got her bag as she smiled happily. What happened? Sarah asked. My young master has just woken up. He is waiting for me to perform my nightly duty, Margaret said as she bolted out of the room under her friends' shocked eyes. Slut, they all thought.